Welcome to Distress to Joyful, Bailey's Way. I'm your host, Bailey Raber, here to enlighten you and the rest of the world about one of the most misunderstood mental health disorders out there, bipolar disorder. In each episode, we'll learn more about my personal journey with bipolar II disorder, how I've struggled with it, and how I've learned to overcome those struggles. Together, we'll laugh, we'll cry, and most importantly, we'll have fun. You'll leave each episode feeling hopeful and stocked full of useful information on how you can better yourself and the world around you. Hello, friends. Okay, this is really strange for me. I have to find a new way to record video. I'm using Zoom right now. This feels really weird because I'm in this Zoom chat by myself. Yeah, I have a MacBook, and normally I record my video for YouTube via the photo booth. That app actually failed me a couple episodes ago. I don't have a YouTube video for it because it said it was recording, but it actually wasn't, which was terrible. Today, it won't even record video at all. So Zoom is hopefully going to work. Fingers crossed that this is going to be okay. I'm also limited on time because I have a free version because your girl is cheap. I was MIA last week, which I'm sure some of you guys noticed. I hope you noticed that I didn't have a new episode last week. But this is because I had a really, really bad panic attack back on Saturday, June 24th, which actually caused me to lose my voice yet again. So if you tuned into season 4, episode 7, self-discovery number 2, My Body Talks to Me, you already know where I'm about to go with this because I actually said in that episode something along the lines of, I feel like my voice is affected by my anxiety and my panic attacks, but, quote, I'm not going to Google it because I'd rather not know the real answer or worse, find out I'm wrong. But I did do a Google search and it turns out that anxiety actually can affect your voice or more so your throat and cause problems in this general area. So what a fucking relief, right? Am I right? And I actually found an article on healthline.com titled, Can Anxiety Cause a Sore Throat? Which explained the following. When you're under stress or feeling anxious, your body reacts by releasing adrenaline and cortisol into your bloodstream. In addition to increasing your heart rate and blood pressure, the release of these hormones can lead to a variety of physical responses, such as rapid shallow breathing, breathing through your mouth, hyperventilation, anxious coughing, muscle tension, and this in turn can lead to a sore throat, a dry throat, tightness, or a burning sensation in your throat. So, y'all, I had a really, really bad panic attack on June 24th. That's 2 weekends ago, but I have to put the date because I record on different days than I publish these things. So that actually was so bad. I was hyperventilating really, really terribly. Like my throat felt like it was closing in on itself. It was constricting so hard. It was awful. It was awful. And I lost my voice for most of the rest of that day. Like it was just kind of not there and it sucked. I hate losing my voice. It's like, guys, I love to talk. Can you imagine how frustrating it is when I can't talk? Or actually, personally, I have this weird complex that when my voice is scratchy and irritated and it's like croaky and it's not my regular voice, I have this weird feeling or like, I don't know, what do you call it? Damn, I need to get better with my words. But I feel like I'm ugly. When my voice isn't what it normally is, I feel like I'm ugly. And it has nothing to do with my appearance. I don't know why I correlate these two, but I do. And it sucks. And it kind of messes with my self-confidence and my self-esteem. Because y'all probably know by now, I have a very distinctive voice. And I like my voice. It is loud. People recognize me by it. I like it. I don't like listening to it, though. I really hate listening to my own voice. But I like the sound of it in general. So when it's not to its normal capacity, its normal pitch, tone, whatever, I just don't feel the same. And so because of this this issue, so these panic attacks, which guys, they've been occurring more regularly, unfortunately. We're going to move into that here in just a minute. So hold your horses. If you're from Texas, you know what that means. If you're not, Google it. Anyways, because of these panic attacks that keep kind of coming out of nowhere, they do affect my voice, which then affects my ability to record new podcast episodes for y'all. And that sucks because I was really excited to get on track this year and stay on schedule. And for the most part, I have. But again, my voice has gotten in the way. And there's nothing I can do because I'm not going to record a croaky. I'm not going to record a croaky podcast. I'm going to spare you all. I'm not even 100% right now. I can feel and hear the croakiness. Y'all probably can't. But seriously, I'm not going to put you guys through that because it's not great. So, because of all of this, full circle, this brings us to my decision to switch things up a bit yet again. And today, we are going to talk about my newfound enemy, anxiety. Looking for a way to support Distress to Joyful Bailey's Way and your favorite podcast host, but unsure how? Well, friends, you can head on over to my Etsy shop, Bailey's Way Designs, to purchase an item handmade by yours truly. In my shop, you'll find cute and useful travel accessories, the comfiest workout headbands you've ever worn, adorable pet accessories, graphic t-shirts, and more. All of the proceeds from Bailey's Way Designs goes directly towards funding my college education, where I'm currently expanding my knowledge of fashion design. You can receive 15% off your first order of $35 or more by going to baileyswaydesigns.etsy.com and use code NEWCUSTOMER15. That's NEWCUSTOMER15. The link to my shop can also be found in the episode description and the show notes. Y'all, I truly appreciate all of your support, and I can't wait to hand pack and ship the items that you purchase from me. Once again, go to baileyswaydesigns.etsy.com and use code NEWCUSTOMER15 to receive 15% off your first purchase. So let's start with the basics. What is anxiety? So I found a very informative article on the National Institute of Mental Health that starts by saying, occasional anxiety is a normal part of life. Many people worry about things such as health, money, or family problems, but anxiety disorders involve more than temporary worry or fear. For people with an anxiety disorder, the anxiety does not go away and can get worse over time. The symptoms can interfere with daily activities such as job performance, schoolwork, and relationships. There are several types of anxiety disorders, including generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder, social anxiety disorder, and various phobia-related disorders. By the way, I know I say this every time, just a reminder once again, any of these articles that I quote or mention in the podcast, you can find the links to them in the show notes. So if you click on the episode description, you'll find the show notes there. You can also find it at whatisheybales.com/season 4 show notes. Okay, so in terms of anxiety, all of that information, that's good to know. We got that out there. This is what anxiety itself is defined as. So what are the signs and symptoms of anxiety? So this same exact article goes on to say that generalized anxiety disorder, which is abbreviated as GAD, usually involves a persistent feeling of anxiety or dread, which can interfere with daily life. It is not the same as occasionally worrying about things or experiencing anxiety due to stressful life events. People living with general anxiety disorder experience frequent anxiety for months, if not years. So, these symptoms include feeling restless, wound up, or on edge, being easily fatigued, having difficulty concentrating, being irritable, having headaches, muscle aches, stomach aches, or unexplained pains, difficulty controlling feelings of worry, having sleep problems such as difficulty falling or staying asleep. So, there are a ton of more specific types of anxiety listed in this article that you are more than welcome to go ahead and read all about. Sorry, not sorry. Though I'm just choosing to cover one of these, which is the one that affects me, obviously, which is panic disorder. So, this article says that people with panic disorder have frequent and unexpected panic attacks. Panic attacks are sudden periods of intense fear, discomfort, or sense of losing control, even when there is no clear danger or trigger. Not everyone who experiences a panic attack will develop panic disorder. So, during a panic attack, a person may experience pounding or racing heart, sweating, trembling or tingling, chest pain, feelings of impending doom, or feelings of being out of control. So they go on to say that people with panic disorder often worry about when the next panic attack will happen and actively try to prevent future attacks by avoiding places, situations, or behaviors they associate with panic attacks. Panic attacks can occur as frequently as several times a day or as rarely as a few times per year. Okay, so now that we've gotten all the technical stuff out of the way, which thank you again to the National Institute of Mental Health, let's move on to something more specific, my personal experiences with anxiety. So, fun fact, when I switched to a new psychiatrist at the beginning of this year, 2023, she added anxiety disorder to my apparently growing list of mental health issues. Great. I've also received feedback from my therapist saying that she's noticed that I've been living in a way higher than usual state of anxiety over the past couple of months, which says a lot because I've had this same therapist for almost 12 years now, you guys. So she definitely knows me. So let's talk about my experiences with anxiety. So I've definitely always been an anxious person. I was probably an anxious kid, but anxiety really started to affect my life in April of 2022. So I'm not going to go super into detail, but when Monish and I came home from our very first trip to India back then, I had my first ever panic attack, and at the time, I didn't realize what was happening, what was going on. We had to do a little research to figure out what the fuck occurred. But I was in the shower and I was thinking about a potential situation, you guys. Potential. Nothing that actually happened, nothing that has happened, but a made up experience in my head, a life situation that could happen. And I started to, I was trembling I remember I was trembling in the shower, tears started to flow, and it felt hard to breathe. Like my chest felt uptight and it felt hard to breathe. And this was the least intense of all of the panic attacks I have felt. So I do want to mention that my therapist says that I'm not supposed to call them panic attacks. You're supposed to say that I'm feeling panic or I'm feeling anxiety. And I do understand that. But as I'm talking about past experiences, I am going to call them a panic attack because that's what happened in that moment. It's not happening now. I'm not feeling that now. But back then, that's what occurred, and that's what I'm going to keep calling them. So if you've been told by your therapist the same thing, I wonder if you also rolled your eyes. I won't blame you because I felt like rolling my eyes at her. I probably did. Knowing me, I probably did. So that was my first experience with it. And it's gotten a lot more frequent ever since then. And like I said, it's gotten worse. So going back to the symptoms of generalized anxiety, I'm going to read them to you again, and I'm going to tell you which of these I have experienced recently and that I experience on a regular basis. So the first one, feeling restless, wound up, or on edge. Hello, this happens not on a daily basis, but it does happen pretty regularly. And with that also comes being irritable, that one too, which I do know that irritability is part of bipolar disorder. I completely understand that. But my irritability levels have been increasing as time has gone on. And my symptoms with bipolar disorder, not so much. So that's kind of one of those things where you're like, okay, when my psychiatrist, checked off anxiety disorder for me, that went along with it. And this all kind of makes sense. So another symptom of, I don't want to say GAD. I don't like GAD either. I'm just going to call it anxiety disorder. That's what I'm going to call it. Another symptom being easily fatigued. I've been dealing with that a lot lately in the past year. Having difficulty concentrating. I don't necessarily pin that. Maybe, I don't know, but I am pretty much a focused person. I don't think this one has been much of an issue for me. Having headaches, muscle aches, stomach aches, or unexplained pains. That one, actually, I didn't check that off when I originally did all this research. But now that I think about it, my neck, that's where I hold stress and tension. And that has had a lot of issues over the last year. And so I think I'm going to have to check that one off now because it's not an unexplained pain. I know where that comes from. I didn't correlate all of this when I, like I said, originally did the research. So that's why I love talking these things out with you guys. I come up with more good dots that are connected. That didn't sound great. I connect dots so much better when I talk it out versus writing it out. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. Difficulty controlling feelings of worry. Check. That has been a massive problem of mine ever since April 2022. And the last one, having sleep problems such as difficulty falling or staying asleep. Boom. Me. And the difficulty falling asleep, that's been a more recent thing. And it's been to where, God, over the last couple of months, over the weekends, like Mona she'll go to sleep and I'll be watching TV until 1 or 2 in the morning because I just can't fall asleep. It was weird. It was weird because that's not typically how I work. I'm very much on a schedule of sleep. And so for that to have occurred multiple weekends in a row, when I was reading the symptoms, I was like, oh shit, well, there you go. That explains why that was happening. Because at the time I was like, I don't know what's going on. Why is this occurring? So let's talk a bit more about how anxiety has actually been affecting me besides just these symptoms. Great, we've brought this up. These are symptoms that have been interfering with my life. It's more than just that. So one of the biggest panic attacks that I remember being like one of the first big ones actually occurred right before Halloween in 2022. Full disclosure, Moni and I had gotten into a fight, which, guys, everybody gets in fights in your relationships. Everybody does. And if you don't, then do you have a real relationship? That's a serious question I'm asking. Because conflict exists everywhere, especially guys in romantic relationships. So Moni and I got in a fight. We got in a big fight and it sucked. It was a really bad one. And with that was the first time my throat had ever constricted the way that it did. It constricted so hard, you guys. It literally made everything worse because then I started freaking out because I felt like I couldn't breathe. I remember I was sitting on the bed and I don't know if keeling over is the right term. It feels right, but it might not be right. But literally, I was sitting down, but I was leaning over onto basically my face was going into my legs that were on the bed. And I was holding my chest and my neck and I was crying uncontrollably. And I couldn't breathe. Like my throat felt like it was closing in on itself. I couldn't breathe. I was hyperventilating. It was fucking terrible. It was terrible. And that was the first big intense one I'd ever experienced. And since then, October 22, which was 9 months ago, I've experienced probably 4 or 5 more just like that since then. Yeah, they're awful, you guys, awful. And a lot of times what happens for me is either Moni and I will be in a fight or I'll be thinking about something in particular, a situation that I made up in my head, whatever. But what always seems to trigger the hyperventilation, which then goes into uncontrollable sobbing and the can't breathe and the tight chest and the just intensity of everything. It's hypothetical situations in my head. Every time, you guys, every time. That's exactly what it is, which is the problem here, which is these feelings of worry that don't go away. I'm worried about something that hasn't happened, that might not ever happen. In hindsight, it's like that's a total fucking waste, right? Like, why are you worrying about something that hasn't occurred yet? But in the moment, I can't stop it. I can't stop my brain from thinking that way, which then causes my body to react, and boom. This is what has been taking over my life lately, unfortunately, which, guys, it takes time. My throat, it took, 2 weeks to recover? It took almost 2 whole weeks to recover from this last panic attack on June 24th, because when it does that, it's painful in the moment, but then there's pain afterwards. Like, there's problems afterwards. I'm like, God, I don't even really know how to fully describe this for y'all. Hopefully I've described it enough. I'm a visual person. I'm trying to visualize it and explain it. But literally, when you're hyperventilating, guys, you're like sucking air in and out very, very hard. That dries up the throat. When it dries up the throat, that creates the scratchiness and the irritation, which then creates a croaky voice, which I cannot stand. But that's the aftermath, the after effects. And it sucks because it caused, all of this worry in my head built up to where it exploded through my throat, which then takes weeks to recover. And this has been a cycle for me. And honestly, I don't know what else to do about it besides talk it over with my therapist, which I have. She has recommended talking it over with my psychiatrist, who I will see in a week or two, and I will 1000% discuss again. But she's already given me the one solution, which she has given me a medication, which is a take as needed. It's a beta blocker. Don't know the specific, not going to give that anyways. But for me, she actually at one point had me take it 3 times a day. She's like, you can take it up to 3 times a day. This specific one is not addictive. The problem was, though, you guys, I was taking it once in the morning, once at lunch, and once in the evening, like she had recommended for that period of time to help me through some intense anxiety I was feeling. The issue was that this medication had a side effect of dizziness, which got so bad to where I was sitting at my laptop in school, like school was still going on at this time, and I got dizzy just looking at my laptop. I got dizzy while I was driving, which was terrifying. So I had to stop. I just quit them cold turkey because I'm like, screw it. Like, this is not healthy for me. This is causing problems. This was a med that I could just do that because it was a take as needed med. She just said, up it right now because I needed to in that moment. So that was okay for me to do. And I discussed it with her later. Right now, I'm focusing on taking it here and there as needed again. And I remind myself that, you know what? If I need to take this, I need to take it. Take it, Bailey. I don't know what it is, but I have no problem taking my daily meds in the morning and the evening for my bipolar disorder. No problem with that whatsoever. But when it comes to taking something extra, I don't know. I guess maybe I think I don't need it, but the reality is I do. I don't know. But I have struggled to take this as needed. And my psychiatrist even told me, she's like, you don't need to wait until things escalate to take this. She's like, actually, I'd prefer if you don't. Because if you wait until they escalate, then it takes 30 minutes to kick in after you take it. So you're going to be in this distressed state longer than you need to be. So again, this is something I'm reminding myself. And for those of you who have an as-needed medication for any type of mental health issue, mental disorder, any kind of health issue, to be honest, I just want to remind you that when it says as needed, you need to take it when you think you need it. You really do. Don't wait until it gets too bad. Don't wait until it explodes or escalates, because personally, I have a problem with that. I'm reminding myself and any of you out there who need this quote unquote permission to take care of yourself. I am so bad at taking care of myself, you guys. I'm terrible at it, which is, it's weird to say that too, because I am working so hard on my self-awareness and, creating a healthy life. And I have for the most part, but Sometimes I feel like I don't deserve it. Sometimes I feel like I don't deserve rest, or I don't deserve to have fun, or I don't deserve to feel better. And that, that stems from my childhood trauma, which EMDR is working on, which I promise we will talk about EMDR. Don't, just be patient. But yeah, so for those of you who are like me, who feel like you need permission to do the things that you need to do for yourself, here is your permission. I need to write a permission slip for myself. Actually, I read that somewhere, either in a book, it might have been in the Unfuck Your Brain book, or on a podcast, one of the two, but I did hear somewhere, I don't know where, but somebody else gets credit, not me, for writing yourself a permission slip to do what you need to do, right? Write yourself permission to have an hour of relaxation every night after work, because you deserve it. Write yourself a permission slip to take a bubble bath a couple nights a week as a way to decompress and relax. Damn. I need to figure out who did that, because I need to do that for myself. I got some ideas cooking up, you guys. Just wait. My creativity is running hard today. So to kind of wrap things up and to keep this from going way too long, which I've gotten really good at lately, I want to move into some activities that can help reduce anxiety symptoms, but specifically one activity, because this one activity is something that I've been doing recently, and that's why I feel called to share it with you guys and how it's helped me and a little research behind it. What is this activity, you ask? This activity is coloring. Okay, some of you might not be as excited as me, but hear me out. Just hear me out. I promise this is some good stuff. So, I typically shy away from WebMD, but I actually found a really interesting article titled Adult Coloring Books, 7 Benefits of Coloring, which listed the following. Which, by the way, I'm not reading all 7 benefits. I'm just reading the ones that pertain to anxiety and our topic today. So, coloring can induce a meditative state. They say that adult coloring doesn't replace art therapy, but it can be therapeutic for some people. Some studies have shown that focusing on the complex structure of your coloring page can help put your mind into a meditative state. The meditative state occurs when you stop focusing on future or past worries and only focus on the present. Focusing on a singular action like coloring suspends your inner dialogue and removes negative thoughts and emotions from your mind. You'll get better at meditation the longer you practice it with coloring, which I've been told by my therapist that I really need to work on meditation. So boom, here's a great way for me to work on it. You're welcome to anybody else who's been told the same thing. So coloring can actually help improve your sleep. So if you color before bed, you're likely to sleep better than if you scrolled on your phone. Wow, I have an article about my bedtime routine that talks about not being on your phone before bed, and I'm going to put that in the show notes so you guys can check it out. But back to quoting the article, exposure to blue light from your phone or tablet can hinder your sleep quality by stopping your brain's natural melatonin release. By coloring in a book before bed instead, you're keeping electronics out of the bedroom, allowing your melatonin level to release naturally as your body gets ready for sleep. So I typically write in my journal and my gratitude journal or read my book, an actual physical book. So I try to do all 3 of those before bed. Sometimes it's just 1 or 2, but that's what I do to stay off my electronics before bed. For those of you who don't do any of those activities, you're not a journaler, you can't get into reading, coloring is a really good alternative activity as well. So I really love this, especially for any of you who are working on getting a sleep routine, which I highly recommend. I've said that a couple times about my sleep routine today. And also, coloring helps to reduce anxiety. So studies have shown that coloring can reduce anxiety in adults. Coloring for 20 minutes or more is an effective way to lower your heart rate and decrease feelings of anxiety. Wow, this article is a bit redundant. Sorry, y'all. In the studies, coloring more intricate designs like mandalas were more effective than coloring a plaid pattern or a blank page. Other benefits to coloring that affect your anxiety include mood improvement, enhanced mindfulness, and reduced mental health stress. By coloring, you're helping more than your mind relax and function better. You're also helping your body. The stress relief from coloring helps reduce the anxiety you're feeling. When you relieve stress and tension from your body, you may also decrease your risk of body aches, sleeping problems, fatigue, and depression. Coloring isn't going to cure your anxiety or depression, but it can reduce the levels of anxiety and stress that can lead to depression. So if coloring is an activity that you enjoy, then you should practice it regularly. And, just going to throw this out there. Last week, I was dealing with a ton of depression. So for me, incorporating coloring, which is what I did last week, not only was it helping with my anxiety, but also it was helping with my depression. So that was a double win for me, which is probably part of the reason why I'm feeling so much better today. I was feeling good yesterday, and the day before I was starting to feel better. So today's the best I've felt in a long time, a couple weeks actually, but this past weekend, it was a gradual, Saturday, I was feeling okay. Yesterday, I was feeling pretty good, pretty okay. Today, I'm feeling good. I'm actually feeling good and balanced. And so I wouldn't be surprised if spending time coloring last week actually helped, because I didn't do much else. I didn't exercise last week. I didn't really eat healthy. I did kind of ish, but not so much. I didn't journal. I didn't read any of my books. I didn't do anything to help myself mentally last week. I didn't. That's how bad my depression was, except for coloring. That's the one thing I actually did do. So that brings me to some really exciting news for you guys. I actually didn't just color last week. I also made my own coloring pages. And I'm super excited because I'm going to share these with you guys via my Etsy shop. $2 a pop, instant download. Hear me out for just a second, because this one that I just held up, which reads, "That's not me, that's bipolar disorder," is actually a double function. So let me explain. If you've already tuned in to season 2, episode 14, "That's not me, that's bipolar disorder," then you already know what I'm talking about in terms of this coloring sheet right here. So if you haven't tuned into this episode, let me go ahead and just give you a very, very brief recap on what it's about, because I don't have a lot of time left, and you can just go tune into the episode to learn more. Again, that link will be in the show notes. Also, just find season 2, episode 14. So back in 2021, my now fiance Monish found an amazing article written by Julie A. Fast on bphope.com called "Why is my loved one with bipolar disorder suddenly being difficult and unkind?" In the article, Julie writes, "Many people believe that bipolar disorder comes with only sad, depression, or euphoric mania. In reality, this is just 50% of bipolar disorder. The other side of bipolar includes symptoms of irritation, anger, restlessness, and a mean and nasty mood. This mood swing can be from either agitated depression or an episode with mixed features, which she calls dysphoric mania. So these mean and nasty moods have actually caused me to act impulsively and aggressively towards Moni, who I would never in a million years want to hurt. So I'm not acting this way at all purposely. And guys, if you have bipolar disorder or you've tuned into the episode, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is just part of the lack of impulse control that actually comes with bipolar disorder. It's part of the brain issues. So with that said, one thing that we both found that helps remind Moni not to react negative towards me when I am acting impulsively like this is to hang up signs around the apartment that say, "That's not me, that's bipolar disorder." Which, let me show you the beautifully colored one. This is the new one I'm going to hang up in the house, and I'm going to color a bunch more. I literally used to have one of these in every room of the apartment when we lived in our old apartment. We moved, we tore them down, they got lost, and we haven't hung them back up. But guys, I know that these signs work and that they help Moni, because as soon as I hung them up back in 2021, which was right around the time I released this episode, he had a so much easier time giving me grace and not reacting towards me when I would behave just unkindly towards him due to bipolar disorder. And when he does react towards me when I'm in this way, it always explodes, you guys, and it causes more problems, and it's not good for us. So the reason why I know that these signs work is because they haven't been in this apartment we've been living in for almost a year now. And we've had issues with this. He often forgets I have bipolar disorder, especially if I'm going through a long period of feeling balanced, where there's no ups and downs, no swings of anything. If I go a long time feeling balanced and something happens, he has a really hard time because he forgets. He forgets about my bipolar disorder, and he's told me that before. So it's really hard to forget I have bipolar disorder when this is up around the house, y'all. And look how pretty and colorful it is. I love all the colors. With that said, I am super excited to hang these up and to share them with you guys because I was trying to come up with something I could share with y'all to be able to post around your homes too. Not everybody is super creative. I totally understand that. I am. I love my creativity. I love getting to do creative things. So for me, this was super fun, not only to create the coloring page, but then to color it. Because if you can tell, there's all kind of mandalas in here, which is actually what they talked about. I read this article after I started coloring this, so I had no idea that intricate mandalas were actually a good thing to color for anxiety, so that kind of actually worked out. But I also made another really fun coloring page, which will be in the Etsy shop too. Fuck this shit. So this one I haven't finished coloring, as you can see. If you're on YouTube, you can see it's only halfway colored. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. For those of you guys who are not on YouTube, I will post photos of these both on the Instagram page, Facebook page, and in the show notes. Sorry, I am looking at myself recording on Zoom. I completely forgot to describe what's happening. This one is really fun. Mona says he loves it because it's super aggressive but girly with all the flowers behind it. That's the fuck this shit one. So they'll be in my Etsy shop. They're instant downloads. I'm excited to share these with you guys. I found a new hobby, and this is, I think, going to be really good for me while I am trying to manage this anxiety. So, to close for this episode, those of you who are also struggling with feelings of anxiety, if you haven't gone to see somebody and talk to somebody about it, if it's a constant issue in your life, I highly recommend it. I got lucky that I found a new psychiatrist who noticed these things in me because the other one I was seeing didn't. And guys, this might not last forever for me. This might just be right now as I'm dealing with EMDR and planning a wedding and life changes and things, but only time will tell. So again, for those of you who feel like you might be struggling with something similar, please go seek help. You deserve it, okay? You deserve it. Win of the week. Win of the week. All right, so really quickly, we're going to blow through one of the week because I'm running out of time. This segment was created for you guys as a way to spread some positivity at the end of episodes, especially when we have heavy topics. And so today I'm going to share my own one of the week because you guys are kind of disappointing me and not writing in your own. I'm really sad. I am. But my win of the week is that Moni and I entered into a contest to win a free engagement photo shoot. And we won! I'm so pumped. I will tell you guys more about that later after it occurs. But yeah, that's really exciting. I don't win a lot of things, so I was really excited that we won this. And I love getting my photo taken. You guys know this. So if you have a recent win that you want to share with me, I would love to hear it. Please send it on over. Either head on over to whatisheybellsdoing.com/win of the week, or you can just, send me a DM directly on my Instagram at distressed to joyful _Bailey's way. So, in the next episode, we are going to talk about bipolar disorder and hypersexuality. I am not skipping over that topic, I promise. I know that I'm not excited about it, but it will happen next time. You can count on me. So, thank you for tuning into the show. If you haven't already, be sure to follow the show on Instagram and Facebook at distress2joyful_Bailey's Way. If you enjoy this podcast, please help spread the word by leaving a rating or writing a review, because you guys know I love hearing from y'all, so please, please, please. Also, be sure to check out this video for free on YouTube if you haven't already understood that I'm on YouTube. And once again, you can find all of the links to all the articles and everything mentioned throughout this episode on the show notes at whatisheybalesdoing.com. But until next time, take it easy, stay grateful, and be joyful. Bye!